quite a while ago, I had to go to a really small Greek island. This guy had rung us and said he wants us to sell his collection and could we come and collect them from his villa. And arrived on the island, and he picked us up. Didn't want to go straight into talking business. He wanted to take us for a drink first. And it was one of these like party islands. And obviously I was very kind of business dressed.
Yes.
And he drove down the high street, which was typical sort of party island, nightclubs, cocktail bars, and took us for a drink in these cocktail bars. Everyone else was in like shorts, bikinis. And so I was there with my black bag with all my paperwork and the dark dress. Felt like I was there to sell insurance.
Yes.
And then he took us back to his villa, and I was expecting some really palatious, swimming pool. But it was like it was unfinished. It was behind a disused bingo hall. And on a sort of random road. He was quite an old gentleman, and he was like asking us, what do you think of the villa? Do you like it? And I was like, yeah. And it was just polished concrete everywhere.
Oh, wow.
And we took the collection away. Everything was weird, but everything went pretty smoothly. But then, because it was a tiny airport, the airport police stopped us, wanted us to unwrap everything, checking the paperwork. Their English wasn't good. Customs came in and said what was the purpose, and we explained, and they were fine. Yeah. But the police wouldn't let us go. They wanted to try and call the clients. They,
Check you weren't stealing it.
And I'm just keep checking my watch, thinking my flight's going to go. It's like serious. And they rang their headquarters. Everything, they'd been trying the watches on.
Oh, no.
Like these provincial police, loving it. And then they said, "Okay, you can go." I literally had like 2 minutes to pack everything back in the bag, and I ran across the runway literally to jump on this little plane to transfer to Athens. And my heart, I thought I was going to be thrown into a little Greek jail for transporting stolen goods.
I confess again, much like the last time, because lots of people come to us, or because we're online, we don't actually have. I can't think of an incident of any description in the last 3 years, vintage-wise, where I've had to physically go and see the person and sort of sit down and negotiate. So we've had amazing phone calls and people come in, but never in person. The only thing I can think of was a close call where basically it didn't happen. After months of negotiation, and it wasn't really vintage, so I'm really going to break the rules a little bit here. But for 2 months I was negotiating the sale of the first Duality, and by Philippe Dufour, and the first Simplicity, or maybe it was number 2. I think the number 1, anyway, the gentleman owned both. And he was in a very nice sunny part of North America, and he'd got in touch, and we'd spent 3 months negotiating and agreeing, and it was appropriately complicated and backwards and forwards, and it took a huge amount of life blood out of me. I really felt exhausted at the end of this process, and at the end we said, okay, so we're going to do this, and I booked my flights, and the day before I flew out, unfortunately the gentleman changed his mind and sold them. He said, he literally used the now infamous words, I got an offer I couldn't refuse. And my heart just sunk, and I thought, oh no, this is terrible. And I went to bed for a week, I think, and didn't get up. But I had been looking forward to flying out to this very sunny part of North America and sitting down and spending a day negotiating finally, and signing and collecting and coming back and feeling top of the world, only for it not to happen. And then sort of wondering for a long time what happened.
Heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking beyond measure.
My experience is, I think, if we isolate it to just odd safes that I've been into, I think that would be. I mean, I've been to some safes in Swiss banks, and that are just literally just like things out of James Bond. When you walk in, it's all mirrored walls, and you have to go into a particular part, and you're not allowed to walk out of there, and no photography. And but the strangest has to be a house, normal house. I mean, a very rich, well-to-do house that had an elevator in it. And the elevator went down into a sub-basement, and in the sub-basement was a safe that was the size of the footprint of the house. So it was a huge safe room, and it was full of the most unbelievable things. There was, with us at the time, there was a silver expert, and he said, "See that seal there? That comes from the 16th century, and if that came up for auction, it would be over £2 million." And it was, full of the most extraordinary things. And there was I,
Treasure trove.
valuing a few very, very exciting watches that will never ever see the day of light, light of day even.
Yeah.